IVM.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashdin, Doctor, your habit coach, and today we have a very special episode because we're going to be talking about health and fitness, but at a very extreme. And we're going to understand how my guest today manages to balance out different aspects of her life and still compete at a very high level. She not only has a 9 to 5 regular job that she does, but she also takes part in bodybuilding competitions. And as you know, that is a very hard thing to do. The hours that go into that fitness is so important. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Navreet Josan, aka the Little Rocket. Welcome, Navreet.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
It's been a while that I've been planning this. I'm so happy that it's finally happening. You know, with the power of our Zoom calls, you can be sitting all the way in, where are you, Jalandhar?
I'm in Punjab, yes, Jalandhar, my hometown.
And I'm in Karjat, so it's going to be a fun interview over this long distance. Okay, so Navreet,
absolutely.
Jumping straight into this, I've always found it fascinating how you manage to do all these things. Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about your life and what are all the things that you're doing right now?
Absolutely. So in terms of work, I work with a leading makeup brand. I head one of their departments, which involves a lot of stuff related to makeup artistry. So working at fashion shows, working with Bollywood actresses, training the makeup artists that work with the brand. There can be a lot of long hours. So that is what I do. It's a very creative, artistic sort of job. A bit of a leadership role as well. And then in terms of my sport, I compete in bodybuilding. And the category that I compete in is called Bikini Fitness. And the kind of body that is required is pretty much like what, I would say almost like what a Victoria's Secret model would look like, but if you give an athletic spin to that. So talking about having a very athletic feminine body at the same time. So like a nice strong upper body with nice rounded shoulders, but not like overly muscular, a tiny waist, nice legs. There's a lot of focus on glutes and hamstrings and overall aesthetics of the look. And then a full package. So your hair, makeup, and what we do is we have to walk to the stage, and we don't do those typical bodybuilding poses. It's very glamorous, but yes, there are a couple of mandatory poses where they look at the whole symmetry. They look at what our upper body looks like, how you have that beautiful hourglass shape. So that's what it's really about. And the preparation, like how it says that you have to literally sweat more in training, and that's how you win competition. That's what the whole preparation takes. It can take years, it can take months sometimes to build the right kind of muscle. There's a lot of focus on, building you look at each body part and build it the way that is required for the sport. So very strategic. There's a lot of focus on diet, the right amount of cardio. So it can be very long hours. And obviously managing that with a 9 to 5 job has been something I've been perfecting. I started competing in 2013. So it's something that I've been...
So that's 7 years that you've been doing this for. Wow.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And so to compete in 2013, how many years before that did you need to start preparing for and start training towards it?
Yes. So actually, I was quite lucky because when I made up my mind to compete, I was already at a point where I was quite fit. I just needed a little bit more just tuning in to be able to step on stage. So I didn't even know about the sport. It didn't even exist in India. So I was the first one to go from India to compete in the US. And it was, so that was a bit of a milestone. So when I look back, I go like, wow, I did that. So it's definitely something I'm very proud and happy about. But yes, just coming back to your question, I think because I was very athletic since I was in school, it really helped a lot. So I used to do kickboxing. I used to go just mess around with weights a little bit, like how we all started. We would just open up a website. For me, it was bodybuilding.com, try and open some plans and just try and create a training split for myself and
Nice.
try and eat healthy. So I was already doing that. I was running, I was doing kickboxing, I was doing CrossFit. So I was doing a lot of things that were available in a city to do.
Hmm.
So that's why I was already at a pretty decent shape. And from there, it was still a lot of hard work. I gave myself 4 months to prep for my competition. And I took fourth place in my first competition, which was actually a really good achievement.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank
Fourth
you.
place is amazing. For the first time going in,
Yes.
everything must be new, right?
Yeah,
One of the things that
absolutely.
I've always admired about you was your consistency. Like I remember we used to work out in the same gym. That's how we met. And
Right.
whenever I would enter, I would see you already there working out. I would finish my workout and you would still be there working out, right?
Right.
Like you had these long, intense training sessions that you would be doing. And it was insane seeing you at that effort and that consistency of effort day in, day out, almost no breaks, and for months on end. Now, where does all that come from? People find consistency in doing a 20-minute workout, not a 2-hour workout. So, I think it's the best time for us to learn from somebody who's at a extreme, who's doing it at a peak level. And understanding consistency from you, I think, is going to help everybody here. So, where does consistency come from, according to you?
That's a great question. And honestly, I've learned there are two things that dictate that from observing how I have been. And I mean, honestly, I've also been off track certain times and I've learned from that and I've gone back to what's worked for me. So let me share that with you. So the first thing to do is set a goal that's slightly scary. So for me, it was to step on stage, which was completely unknown to me. Nobody in India had done it before. So it was definitely like, I just couldn't stay in bed and turn the alarm off and snooze because I knew that if I would do that, it would just put me back behind people that were way ahead of me anyway. So that would make me jump out of bed. It was a goal that was exciting. It was a goal that scared me a little bit. And I'd also, you know how they say that make it a little bit public. That helped because a lot of people knew that I'm prepping for a competition. So I wanted to deliver and I wanted to, I wanted to make my coaches proud. I didn't want to let myself down, So it
Right.
was a great way for me to push myself. Whereas on an everyday life, if I tell myself, okay, like I just want to get fit, if it's just like, oh, I just want to get fit, like generally, you tend to, fall prey to things like, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. Or when somebody says, Chal, leave it, no, do it tomorrow. What is one day going to do? So when you have goals like this, you cannot slack. So that
Right.
was one thing. I think for you guys, it could be a photo shoot. It could be, I think the most common one is when people are getting married or things like that. But I think it has
Correct.
to go a little bit beyond that. You could do something exciting, like you want to, train for a photo shoot is like a really, really good example because it'll just
Mm,
push you, or just for yourself, like set a bit of a deadline and have a
mm,
date in mind that you work towards. Very
mm,
important to track progress. And for that, I would really recommend working with somebody. It could be a friend, it could be a husband, boyfriend, it could be a coach. And for me,
mm,
that's really worked because when I have a very strategic plan from somebody that I need to follow, and I know that
mm,
I need to take pictures, report back to them after a week, I
mm,
know that I don't want to let myself down and I don't want to let them down because they are investing in
mm,
me as well. And
mm,
especially like taking pictures, for example, you can really see like, oh my God, I actually went backwards this week, and it really whoops your ass there. So I would say that one thing is setting slightly higher goals for yourself, and you will be able to
mhm,
achieve them when you push yourself. And the second would be building accountability, which could be getting a coach or having somebody that you have to follow up with. These are two things that really worked for me. And when I don't have these two things in place, I
mm.
tend to not perform as well, or I tend to slack myself.
Fantastic. Setting yourself a goal gives you that direction, something to achieve,
Exactly.
something to go for. And I so many times clients come to me and say, I want to be healthy. ये healthy क्या है? What is healthy?
Yeah. What
Yeah,
does
what
that
is
look
your
like?
definition of fitness? What is somebody else's
Exactly.
definition of fitness? Completely different. So
Yeah,
always
exactly.
think about it as training for something. Don't think about it as workouts. That's something that I've taken out from this conversation. Don't think about मैं gym जाता हूँ. Say I'm going to train for this goal. And I think that
Exactly.
mind shift
Yeah.
itself makes a big change. So you're working
Yeah.
towards something instead of just working. That's one.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel that it's very different for different people. For people who run, it could be
Mm,
something like they want to improve their daily mileage or they want to, improve their time. For somebody like a bodybuilder, for me, it's the aesthetics. So, did I put like a little bit more muscle mass where I needed to? Did I lean
mm,
down my waist and it's more tinier now? So you have to figure that out and see this is where I want to be, or I want to see changes in every week or 10 days.
mm.
Very important to do that.
And do you ever lose your motivation? Like this is something I keep getting
Mm.
asked all the time. Ashton, I'm not motivated. I've lost all my motivation. It's been 2 weeks. I've lost my motivation. To which my normal answer is good because as you know, I'm like anti-motivation. I'm like
Right, right.
focus
Yeah,
on your
it's
habits. Don't focus on your motivation. But I'm sure
exactly.
with a goal like this, you must be having these motivation issues, ups and downs as well.
Yeah.
What happens?
That happened to me yesterday. I've just
Oh,
started a new off-season plan, and yesterday something just kind of ticked me off, and I was not having a very good day. I knew that today was a workout, like I had to train legs. And I knew that if I wouldn't train that, I would just fall back during the week. So I did get it in, even though it wasn't 100%. And please know that it's never going to be 100% every day. I think one common mistake that a lot of us tend to make is that we want to make it 100% every day. And if it's not 100%, we go like, okay, now though the whole day is gone for a toss, so let me eat what I want. Let me just do what I want. Tomorrow I will start fresh. No,
correct.
do what you can, right? So for me, my workout was maybe at 60, 70%, but I still got it in. And that is still better than not doing anything at all. I still ate completely clean throughout the day because that's something I could control. If you had a cookie, that's fine. Don't eat 10 more. Finish
Mm,
there and don't
mm,
do more damage. That is really important to inculcate because I see that happening so often and I've done that myself. But I learned that those little things, those little, successes, tiny
mm,
wins, they add up
mm.
in the end.
Beautifully said. I love the tiny win idea. And something similar happened this morning. I had tons of work to do before we recorded this podcast, and I didn't have time to
Right.
do my normal exercise. So I just put on a 7-minute timer. In my pajamas, I did my exercise this morning, and then I repeated the 7 minutes again for a total 40 minutes, and I was done. And at least
Exactly.
you put
Yeah.
it in, and you've
That's a
not
great
lost
example.
that feeling. It gives you that feeling of success saying, "Chalo, happen," and that's important, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's something we should talk about a little in the end. I know both of us wake up in the morning,
Hmm.
which is, for me, that's been a big contribution towards me being more consistent. And I can talk about that a little bit more in the end or
Lovely.
whenever
So
we
we
want.
must do on
Yeah.
that. Must,
Yeah.
must. There's an important consistency through exercise easier, consistency through food easier. Which one do you think is
I
a tricky
think
one?
consistency, yeah, for me, it's very personal, but I think for
Hmm.
most people, it tends to be consistency with exercise is a little easier because a lot of people like to lift or play and it makes you feel amazing. But
Hmm.
consistency with food requires a much tougher, like you need to have more grit.
Yeah.
Especially when people around you, can't expect people around you to change according to your goals. Like
Hmm.
if you decide not to eat cookies, you can't
Hmm.
expect anyone in the house not to have cookies. But you
Yeah.
need to have that discipline to be completely okay. And honestly, for me, it did take just those few initial months. It
Hmm.
used to affect me and be like, oh my God, like people around me are eating all of this. But now it's just so normal. Like people in front of me could eat whatever they want. But because I'm so fueled and I know my goals matter to me, it's easy.
Hmm. Nice. I like it. So you can then now start creating that barrier between I want to is it good for me? And
Exactly.
like you keep talking about it, like when you are competing, you have a six pack, you have abs, right? Your body fat percentage is down to something minuscule. Maybe you can't even like pinch
Yes.
your skin. Now,
Yeah.
how do you get to that level? So that's obviously, like I was saying, It's an extreme. Not everybody needs to get
Yes.
there. But there are
Yes.
principles that help people who want to lose weight, right?
Right.
What are your
Yeah.
three top principles that you think are in line with this? That somebody at your extreme does obviously at a higher end that everyone else can also focus on and do.
Right. So the first one goes without saying is going to be your training and your cardiovascular or whatever sport that you like to play. So I would say designing a plan accordingly so that you're not
Mm,
overtraining, but you're doing that little extra bit so that you have that calorie deficit to start leaning down. Very important because you could be working very hard, but if you're just at a point where you're not burning enough calories, you're not going to achieve the results that you need to lean down.
correct.
So, having the right plan is very important. Your nutrition is very, very important. I think beyond that, the kind of things that I've learned, which are really important to do, is your sleep. So,
Mm,
if you're not sleeping well, your body is going to hold on to weight.
mm,
Managing your stress, because
mm,
you can try anything in the world, but end of the day, if you're not managing your stress and your sleep, and that's something people tend to overlook, and they go like, oh my god, I'm doing everything, I'm training right, I'm eating right, I'm not seeing results. I think just taking care of those other aspects, like I know Ashden, you and I, we together worked on things like meditation, breath work. Those are few things that I think a few athletes tend to do what other people might not think of, because those
mm.
are just like your diet and nutrition are just a given, you know.
Yes.
Other than that, I think we tend to look for other hacks here and there with nutrition, or like just adding the right kind of foods and supplements to your diet so that you're
Mm.
able to, like for me it was adding apple cider vinegar so that I my blood sugar is more in control. So just, I think, using science a little bit more intelligently
Mm.
really helps. Yeah, but just to
Lovely.
round it up, yeah, like just taking care of yourself, other than your diet and training, other things like sleep, meditation, and that together adds up to the results that you get.
My two big takeaways from this were you did not say go hard or go home, which is the most
Hmm.
common advice
Most
people
common.
get, right? Saying that I want to lose
Yeah.
weight, chalo, maar dal, like kill me in the gym today because that is what I need to get my six pack. That is not the advice you give. That's first, the big learning for everyone to get.
Right.
The second big learning is that you said sleep and de-stressing. Now, in
Yes.
order to lose belly fat, in order to get to the shape that you want, sleep and de-stressing are so important. And these are things that
Exactly.
nobody talks about. Your abs are not necessarily made in the kitchen as much as also made on your bed, right? Both
Exactly.
these
Yeah.
things have to happen. You have to sleep because you'll notice on a day that you haven't slept well, you'll be puffy the next day. You'll
Yeah.
feel the next day, right? So it
Absolutely.
all adds up. And I think that was two beautifully well put points.
Thank
Superb.
you.
So we've got consistency. I understood that. The next part is you keep talking about a coach, right? You keep talking about working with a coach. You keep talking about creating a plan. Um, you know, in this day and age when we are all stuck at home, I know a lot of coaches are suffering because people are not going out to the gym, etc. But I want to put out saying that
Right.
it is so important, even if you're starting this journey, to get yourself somebody who you can trust, who can train you well, who can give you a plan, and to invest
Right.
that money wisely in that. Because I know that
Right.
you've always had a coach, you've had multiple coaches,
Yes.
international coaches, expensive coaches, right?
Yes.
So how do you justify that in this context, and how can people take this out and say, you know what, I should start paying for a coach, I shouldn't just keep doing these free YouTube videos that I see,
Yeah.
maybe they're not right for me. How would you go through
Right.
that
Right.
process?
Yeah, sure. Great question again. I think it goes down to what your priorities are. And I feel that it's very common to see that we don't prioritize on we see it as something we can manage ourselves. And I know
Hmm.
some people do that really well. But if you want to, because I know this podcast is more about learning from extreme sport. And if I see people in my sport, even people
Hmm.
who are coaches have coaches. right? And that's
Yes.
for a reason, because of the fact that what somebody else can see
Mm,
and the way they can give you feedback, you cannot do that when you are in that whole process, especially on days when you're really tired and you don't want to do things, or you're just failing and you just feel like, okay, this is not working, and you want to give up, right? That's
mm,
where,
mm,
when you have a coach, I think we spend so much money, right, on food. We spend so much money on so
mm,
many other things. When you take that money and invest in a coach, the return on investment you get on that is amazing, because not only do you feel confident with the way your body is looking, and then everything that you're gonna wear is gonna look amazing, your relationship with other people is gonna improve, the way you work is gonna improve, because you're gonna sleep better, you're gonna feel amazing about yourself. So I feel that whenever it comes to even goal setting, when you're thinking about so many other things, keeping health and fitness in the center, you will see every other area is going to get better. And that is only going to happen when you have somebody who's going to be able to guide you really well. Now, with that, I think it's really important to pick somebody that you have that really good understanding and chemistry with, somebody you look up to, because
mm,
only then will you be motivated to follow their plan. So once you get a plan, you have to believe in the fact that it's going to work for you, right? And very important
mm,
to work collaboratively with them, letting them know, this is how I'm feeling, this is what's working for you. And trust
mm.
me, do that consistently for 3 months, and you will see such a big difference. Like, that has been a contribution to my success till date. Not only has it helped me learn from so many different coaches about health and fitness, and a very holistic way of learning, because honestly, the way we take our body to extremes in bodybuilding is not very healthy all the time.
Not
But
at all.
those are,
Yes.
yeah, and in the last few months it does go to quite extreme ways of, like, you're dieting down so hard, which is what I
Mm,
would really advise for people for general fitness. But I feel that learning from everybody has really helped me look that way and work towards that year around, rather than just
mm.
saying, okay, now I have this goal and I want to work towards it. Yes.
Yes. Yes. The working towards something year out is a big takeaway from this, right? It is not something that you just work on for the last 2 months and khatam. That's one thing.
Mhm.
And the coach is somebody who is your guide, is your mentor through this. He has the knowledge,
Yeah.
right? He
Yeah.
has the knowledge that you don't. He has the abilities that you admire, and which is what you want from him. And that is
Yeah.
why getting yourself a coach is so important. And now it's easier with an online coach. You can do a workout with somebody there. They can send you a plan. It's so much easier. Please, everyone, just search for a coach and find somebody good for you.
Yeah, I'd like to add one more thing here. For me, I think at a
Yeah.
point you get to a level where you understand fitness, you understand exercises and nutrition to quite an
Mm,
extent when you're doing it year after year. I think beyond that, yes, they are going to
mm,
provide you that as well. But for me, it's also been that whole coaching of building your mental fortitude. That is
ah,
also a big part of coaching. Like, how do you pick yourself up on days when you want to eat
mm,
crap or you don't want to work out, right? That's when they come in. When you mess up, they teach you how to get better at it, so that
mm,
eventually, year after year, you get to a point that you don't have to make those calls again and again to them, and you can just pick yourself up on days that you don't want to train or you're feeling miserable, and you're able to use workout or nutrition as your anchor, and at least that part of your life is really stable, and it's such a good feeling.
superbly said. They hold you back, they let you go, and that's how they
Yeah.
maintain what you're going through. Because this body is one aspect of working out, but the mind is another aspect of working out, and both are important. So earlier on in the podcast, you had said that we must talk about this morning routine in detail later on. So let's talk about
Right.
that. You were saying that the morning routine for you has become one of the most important things. How so?
Yes,
What happened?
absolutely. So I figured out that for me, getting things done in the morning was
Mm,
such a game changer. So not
mm,
only was I able to focus on what mattered the most in the first few hours and get it out of the
mm,
way, because I feel that as I went through my day, the amount of energy or motivation I had would run down, or it would really depend on how was my day at work,
Mm.
and that would affect my lifts or my running or my nutrition as well. So at least getting my workouts done in the morning and get it out of the way was such a game changer, because not only would I feel fresh, motivated, and after I did my workouts as well, the amazing endorphins that are released, it feels so good. And that way I would start my day right. I would feel amazing. I have slept well as well. My nutrition would be on point. So I felt like it trickled down to every other aspect of my life, which is what I
Mm.
mentioned earlier as well. So for
Mm.
me, I would say I wake up at 5 in the morning
Mm.
these days. Sometimes
Mm.
when I was in Mumbai, it would even go up to 4:30. But of course, you have to sleep earlier.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I think the morning and the evening, it is so important to start the day right and close it right as well. So making
Correct.
sure, like, even in the evening, I sleep on time, I have my gym clothes, at least go through what is it that I need to do for the day, and keep my phone away, because these days there's so much digital distraction at the moment. So I
Absolutely.
knew if I would be on the phone, I would just have another hour that's gone by and it's affected my sleep. So
Mm.
having that discipline and setting some really healthy, strong habits and rules for myself
Mm.
really helps. So for me, like I said, it would be waking up in the morning with
Top three
working
habits.
out.
Come on.
Top three habits. So, um, okay, this is something that's really helped me. I just
Mm.
started it about a year back. Was adding.
Mm.
So when I wake up in the morning, lemon juice with
Mm.
Himalayan sea salt.
Nice.
Always. I have it first
Mm.
thing in the morning, makes me feel
Mm.
great. Sometimes I don't even have caffeine. Wake up
Mm.
5:30 in the morning every
Mm.
day, and
Mm.
no phone at least 1 hour before bedtime.
Lovely. But phone when you wake up in the morning?
No, no
Okay.
phone when I wake up in the morning. For me, it's usually I'll put something, either it'll be very good music that I want to listen, or it pumps me up for
Mm.
my workout. So the preparation kind of starts at home. I'll
Right.
put music that gets me going, and I'm in a good mood, or I'll listen to anybody that I follow who's really
Mm.
motivational. So I'll listen
Mm.
to a video.
Like the
So
habit coach or yes.
yeah, cheeky plug-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but absolutely. So
Mm.
no phone in the morning. Even at the
Mm.
gym, my notifications are off, because
Okay.
I want to focus on what I'm doing. And then once I'm done with that, and then I come home, that's when I turn I look at messages and everything.
Superb. So
Mm.
owning that morning, that is your me time, and making sure that there are no interruptions during that time. One big
Right.
takeaway. Second big takeaway was the fact about I need to win before I go to the gym, which was put on music, make myself feel good, right? Before I start my workout. It's
Right.
not that I'll make for the workout and then I'll feel good. Because this is such an important one. Because the battle of going to the gym or doing your run or working out starts by putting on your shoes, right? If you're
Absolutely.
not in
Yeah.
the right frame of mind before you put on your shoes, there is no way that you will be able to get that
Yeah.
afterwards. Correct? So you
Yeah.
have to get
Yeah.
that in before you wear your clothes, before you put on your shoes, get into that mood, play some good music. Like we've done an
Right.
entire podcast on what we call a primer, a workout primer, which is have
Okay.
one
Nice.
song that
Huh.
builds you up, that you listen to
Right.
every time you're going to work out. Only one song. So it
Huh.
becomes like a Pavlovian
Right.
response in
It's
your
a
mind saying that
trigger.
the
I
trigger.
love
As soon as
that.
I listen to the song, I'm going to start working out. So it's called the
Amazing.
workout
Very
primer.
nice. Mm.
And the problem is that if you're in a club or someplace and the song starts playing, you'll immediately start doing neck rotations, jumping
Right.
jacks, squat on the floor. Okay,
Right.
lovely. Superb. So the morning, winning the morning, I think is a fantastic way of getting your consistency in. Yeah, and right, like we were talking about, there are so many aspects of your life that have to fall into place that you start working on, and that it takes a while to get. It's not something that's going to happen in 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month. You have to allow yourself those 6 months, a year, 2 years to happen, and that is when the power of that consistency starts showing. Like you were saying that
Absolutely.
you have a hard routine, but now, because you've been so consistent on it, it doesn't look or feel necessarily as hard to you. It's almost become a
Absolutely.
part of who you are. Right.
Yes,
So I think
yes.
that is the beautiful part of it, because people will listen to this episode and say 5:30 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, crazy what these people are. I'm not waking up. But the idea was that at some point of time, Navreet started off at 7, then she went to 6, then she went to 5, then she went to 4. She didn't start from
Right,
7 and go into 4. So getting that
right.
consistency in making those small changes makes a big difference. It's
And
like putting on muscle.
also, yeah, exactly. Also, I feel that it doesn't have to be that time for everybody. It can
Mm.
be different. Like there are people I know who start their day, like their work only starts at 12 o'clock. So for you, it could mean whatever hour of the day, but what the essence is that you get that done early in the morning, or if you feel best in the evening, then do it that way. But for me, that's what worked really, really well. And I felt like I was just slacking a lot in the evening, and it was so dependent on how my mood was or whether I had a good day at work or not.
It's all here. It's all in your
Yeah,
mind. The battle's won in your mind before even your body gets into it. And you can
absolutely.
force your mind a little bit. You can't force your body, but you can force your mind a little bit. And all these little tips and tricks are all about that.
Yes.
Lovely. Navreet, thank you so much for coming on this episode. We have a second episode coming up just a day after this, which is going to be interesting because, this is one very fascinating aspect of competing that we're going to be talking about. So make sure you come in and listen to that. In fact, people should follow you, should see what you are doing every day, learn from that as well. How can people, follow you, get in touch with you? What is the best way of doing that?
So I am active on Instagram. That's the platform I'm the most active on. My Instagram handle is Lil Rocket. It's LILROCKET. So that's where I try and share all aspects of my fitness and food and everything. I do have a separate makeup page as well, which is linked in the bio for that.
Navreet, thank you so much for joining us on the Habit Coach podcast.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Ashdin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. You can find lots more information on my website, awesome180.com. or check out different content on my YouTube channel called AWESOME180. That's Awesome 180.
I hope you enjoyed that show. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money. So it's been a really, really fun week this week. We've had a great episode with Anand Nilakantha on Cyrus Says. Anand was one of the writers of Bahubali, and it's done some really, really fun stuff since that. Ashish Vidyarthi also had a really good episode on his show, Begin the Journey. Please do check that out. You do know Yuddha is back, right? Definitely check it out if you haven't. Yuddha is our show about Indian ancient warfare. It's hosted by Anirudh Kanisetti and Aditya Ramanathan. Really, really great show. You should check that out for sure. And I forgot. Rishikesh was on the network as well. He was on Absolutely Right with Aditi Sarana. Do definitely check that out. With that, hope to see you next week.
माणसं ना गोलगप्प्यासारखी असतात. हाय हॅलो करताना वेगळी आणि बोलताना वेगळी आणि गप्पा मारताना वेगळी, मित्र झाली की वेगळी आणि शत्रू म्हणून वेगळी, थोडक्यात दिसणारी वेगळी आणि असणारी वेगळी, कधी आंबट, कधी गोड, कधी तिखट, तर कधी चमचमीत आणि कधी कधी हॉट अँड स्पायसी सुद्धा. आणि म्हणूनच गप्पा गोल गप्पा विथ तृप्ती खामकर फक्त तुमच्यासाठी दर बुधवारी IVM पॉडकास्टच्या ऍपवर, वेबसाईटवर किंवा युट्यूब चॅनलवर सुद्धा ऐकू शकता. तुम्ही आमचा पॉडकास्ट वेगवेगळ्या पॉडकास्ट प्लॅटफॉर्मवरती ऐकू शकता. फक्त सर्च करा गोल गप्पा विथ तृप्ती खामकर आणि आमचा पॉडकास्ट ऐकत रहा.